Hey, it's Sunday.
What's happening? What's happening? What's happening? What's happening? It's Sunday. It's
What up,
Sunday.
people?
All right, let's see. Let's get over here. Some destinations. Can I get comments? All right, I think we're good. We got the question of the day ready. All right. So it is Sunday.
It
And
is
because it is
Sunday.
Sunday, it is time for another Inside the Relationship.
Yep,
Inside the Relationship. I think this is going to be a good one today. No, I don't think it's going to be a good one. I know it's going to be a good one.
it's gonna be a good one.
So
Yeah.
do me a favor before we actually jump into it. Can you just check and make sure it is indeed live everywhere?
Where's everywhere?
YouTube and Facebook. So I see it on Facebook. So we're good. I think we're good. Matter of fact, you know what? I can check on YouTube right now. Um, we had some technical difficulties just minutes before this thing
Yeah.
started. We had some technical
Yeah, we're live.
difficulties. So, all right. So here it is. This evening, we're going to talk about a bunch of stuff this evening, but we'll give you a couple of things. So, um, we're going to talk about couple goals
Couples goals.
this
Yeah.
this evening. We're going to talk about some money stuff this evening, right? So,
Uh-oh.
so listen, let's get into it. Couple goals, money stuff, and all this kinds of crazy relationship talk that's going to happen where? Inside the relationship. All right, listen, let's get into it. Let's go right now.
Let's go.
You're watching Inside the Relationship with Denise and Ollie.
So sit back, relax, and let's talk about all things relationships.
Evening. Good evening.
What's happening?
Good evening. Happy
Here we are.
Sunday. Happy last Sunday of February.
Oh, wow.
Yep.
That's it? February's done already?
Done. 2022. Last one.
You know what I noticed in some of these? I haven't been looking in the camera. That's okay.
Right.
Because I'm looking at the
You're
screen
looking at
and
the
the
monitor.
camera's right here.
It's okay.
And
It's
I'm
okay. Let's
doing,
go.
looking all around and all that kind of stuff. So listen, welcome to another Inside the Relationship. If this is your first time seeing Inside the Relationship, this is merely a show that happens every Sunday evening at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, where we talk about all things relationships.
Yep.
Nothing is off the table. If you haven't seen any of the others, you got to go see some of the others, right?
So welcome, first time watcher, Mr. Miguel.
Biggs,
Welcome,
my man.
Welcome, Judith.
What's good? First time watcher. Appreciate you, bro. Listen, let me just shout you out. Thank you for the blessing.
Yes,
May
we
God
appreciate it.
May God return to you 100-fold.
We appreciate it so much
for what you did, bro. Appreciate that. Judith, thanks for being back. Judith was with us. Had a great conversation. Was that last week's episode? Had a great conversation last week.
I think so.
And I think Judith was a part of that, man. So thank you for being here.
So
listen, go ahead.
I just got to say something.
What's up?
I brushed my teeth before the show.
Okay.
And my teeth are clean, but my shirt is not because I have toothpaste splatters. I'm looking at the monitor all over my shirt.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Do you see that?
I see it.
That's okay.
It's okay.
It's just bothering me. So if it bothers you, there it is.
Listen, let's just listen. Shout out for brushing your teeth. You know what I'm saying? How about that?
I brushed my teeth today.
How about that? We'll take it. So that's what's up. It's all good. It's all good. So how you doing? How you doing this week?
I'm good. Well, this week is just beginning.
Or weekend, I guess I should say. Weekend. How was your weekend so far?
Great.
Okay.
Great.
It was good. It was good. Friday, I had the opportunity to hang out with some folks that I've never hung out before, meet some people that I've never met before. Shout out to Dr. Dean Scott, who offered me the opportunity to hang out with some of the leaders in Baltimore County and around the state of Maryland for a Black History program that went down. And so, hey, That was good. I met some folk that that I probably would not have met any other time. Clean teeth is better than slightly stained. Yep.
I'm glad you can't see it, Miguel.
Yep. That's what's up. That's what's up.
I'm glad you can't see it.
So yeah, weekend was good. I don't know, a little introspective, maybe a little bit this weekend. But
yes, you were.
That's kind of, I hate to say par for the course, but I get in those modes sometimes where I just got a lot going on.
I don't mind that. Here is what I do mind.
Okay, what do you mind?
When I ask you what's going on or what's up, are you okay? And you say yes. I would rather you say to me, I'm good, but I just feel like I'm just a little introspective. You did it here. I feel like you can tell me.
Yeah, well, you know what's funny though?
Because it makes me think other things.
Yeah. I'm like, what?
I don't know that I should say it right
now. I think you should say it. I think you should say it. I think you should say it. What
it's
makes
a whole
you think,
nother topic.
What? Tell me. What is it? What is it? What does it sound? What does it make you think?
I feel like this sounds like a conversation. Yeah, I feel like you were okay after we were sexually intimate.
I was okay.
Yeah, that bothers me.
I was okay.
But that's a whole nother topic.
So maybe we need to dig into that next week. No, maybe we need to dig into that today.
Okay, I'm good.
Let's dig into that today. I mean, we can squeeze it in and other stuff we got to talk about. But the introspective piece, right? I said it now because I could articulate what it was.
And you couldn't before?
Maybe not. I wasn't sure. Well, and not so much I wasn't sure, but I'm attempting to think differently.
Yes.
And so often in an effort to do so, I choose not to say what it is I might be stressing about or any of that kind of stuff.
Okay. I mean,
but let's go ahead.
I get that, but that leaves me thinking. It's hard to put words to all the thoughts and feelings before processing them. I get that. I really do. I get that. But I would rather you say, to Mig's point, I would rather you say, I'm just processing some stuff right now, instead of saying, yeah, I'm good, when you know that's not the case. But
I can do that.
To your point, I forgot what you said. I lost my train of thought.
Let's be clear though. I was better afterward.
Yeah.
So that
bothers me.
But it shouldn't bother you, because here's the thing. Sex is a stress reliever.
Sex is a stress reliever, yes. But I also feel like, man, I don't want to have to do that for you to be okay. That doesn't sound right.
Yeah, see, now you're digging a hole. Right. You're digging a hole, Elizabeth. You're digging a hole,
it doesn't
Elizabeth.
Sound right.
Yeah, I agree with that, Migs. The default is I'm good.
I don't know how to say it.
Some of that is unhealthy. I'll be the first to admit that. Some of that is unhealthy because it's something that as men we kind of feel like we gotta do.
Yeah, I get that. I really, really do. But to my point, I think that gosh, how do I say it? I don't want that to be the only reason why we're intimate.
Oh no, not at all. Yeah. Not at all.
I believe you.
Yeah, that's not the case.
I believe you. But when you say, I don't know.
So here's the thing.
I don't know how to word it.
I feel like maybe you felt like that was the reason why I was in the space I was in.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Right.
Yes,
so
yes,
I get that. I get that. And maybe some of it was that. This is a topic for a whole nother time. But so since it's out there, the weekends are a great time for us as it relates to sexual intimacy.
Yeah, you're right.
So we'll dig into that.
You're right.
We'll dig into that. But here's the thing. I was, so to be honest, man, because you got me out on Front Street in front of everybody.
I told you I didn't want to talk about it.
So to be honest, right? the majority of it was that I have some financial stuff on my mind.
Mm.
That was, if we had to put it into percentages, that was 85%
Okay.
of what's happening in my head. The other 15% probably was that, you know,
It had been a few days.
yeah, it was time. So, but yeah, but I'm
All right.
and here's what's crazy. Afterward, I and the reason why maybe it seemed like I was better. When I was better, period. Connection between us is always, it's great, and it does something for the atmosphere. But then I had to, like, really actively in my head be like, okay, dude, stop thinking about what you're thinking about, so that you don't look, like something's
Yeah.
still wrong afterward. Because I definitely didn't want I didn't want that to be the case.
Yeah. I think you're working too hard.
Could be.
I think you're working too hard when
Could
all
be.
you had to say is, I'm good. I
Mm.
got some things on my mind. I'm processing some things, but I don't want you to think that it's you or us. I'm just processing some things. You could have even gone into detail and said, I'm just trying to figure out the financial piece of this for this week or whatever,
Mhm.
because you do that sometimes anyway.
You're right. You're right.
So
You're right.
yeah,
I
there it
gotta
is.
I gotta say, use more words. I'm with it. I'm
Yeah.
with it. I'm with it.
Man, I
I'm,
rushed down here.
I'm with it.
Go ahead.
You good, Elizabeth?
Okay.
Yeah. So, all right. So yeah, that was a great.
That was a great conversation.
That was a great conversation. It's actually a phenomenal segue into our first segment, because the first segment has something to do with that, right? So, how about you ready to jump into that?
Is it this one?
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. So let's jump into the first segment. Let's go. The first segment is. It is the Media Mixdown, and in the Media Mixdown, we take stuff that we saw from social media or articles that we read or anything of that nature and bring it to you guys, right? So, what you got this week?
So I was reading an article. I skimmed an article. I actually didn't read it in detail. I thought it was pretty interesting. It caught my eye.
Mhm.
There's a financial therapist out there. Her name is, geez, I forgot my glasses. Megan McCoy, Dr. Megan McCoy.
Mhm.
And she said that you shouldn't, you know how we're always telling couples, couples that are planning on getting married, make sure you talk about everything,
Mhm.
put everything on the table,
Mhm.
leave nothing to chance, talk about your family goals, talk about your financial goals, talk about this, that, and the other. All of that. We tell couples to talk about everything. So nothing, or as much as you can, is not a surprise when it comes up, right?
Mhm.
This therapist is suggesting, she's a financial therapist, that you do not delay, or she's saying that you shouldn't delay marriage until you are financially stable.
So, meaning, even if you don't got the money, go ahead and do it.
Even if you're not financially stable,
Interesting.
go ahead and get married anyway. And she's saying that millennials are more likely to delay marriage because of money than older generations, which
I agree with that.
I think that's pretty good. She's saying you shouldn't. And she said that you might actually get wealthier if you get married sooner.
Really?
Yeah. Again, I didn't read the whole article, so that was one of the points that she pointed out. And she also said that married couples tend to be more motivated to achieve financial goals by thinking of shared expenses and income as our money instead of my money. That's interesting.
That is interesting, and I'm not sure I agree.
Really?
Yeah.
I kind of don't think so either, but
And here's the thing.
we're not millennials though.
We're not millennials,
So.
number one. But here's the thing too. I'm not going to say that you should be at a certain number, because I don't agree with that either.
Mm-hmm.
And I've known people in the past who, like, you got to have this certain amount of money in the bank, and you got to have this and this and this and this before you can get married. I don't know that it needs to be to that extreme.
But you should talk about it
But you should at least talk about it. And if you're going to do that, then that's fine. With her saying that you potentially become wealthier, that I don't agree with. Because you can't, how can you predict that?
How can you predict that? I don't know.
Because here's the thing. Let's say you get married and you got a lot of debt, and that's the reason why you're not financially where you want to be. You carry all of that into the marriage, and it's tough to get wealthy if you're digging out of a hole. Like, we've experienced that.
Yes, very true. Very true. So she says waiting until you're financially stable to get married is kind of an oxymoron. You will probably get more financially stable if you're married. Here's the number one. She gave 2 reasons why, and here's one of the 2 reasons.
Mm-hmm.
Sharing expenses helps you to save money. Makes sense, right? If you think
If you
about
do
it,
it right.
I have an expense, you have an expense. When we get married, we're like, wait a minute, we don't need both of these expenses.
True.
You know what I'm saying? So
Yeah.
in that regard, I get that.
Yeah.
And then the second reason that she gives is healthy money conversations helps couples make smart money decisions.
I agree with that.
Yeah.
I agree with that. I think as with anything, right, is kind of to each his own, right? And
Right,
I don't want to ask this, pose it to the audience, because I don't want people may not necessarily want to say one way or the other. But
right.
if you had all the money you felt like you needed to have before you got married, I would be curious if you felt like that was an advantage to you. And for those who did not have the amount of money that they felt like they needed to have prior to marriage, do you feel like that was a disadvantage to you? Because let's put, we already put ourselves on Front Street. So if you just joining us, you're going to have to go back and watch the beginning of it, because we jumped out the window straight from the gun.
I tried not to, but you pushed me. You pushed me out the window.
So let's continue to trend. We put ourselves out there. We did not have all of the money we wanted to have.
Correct.
We were not in the financial position that we probably, quote unquote, in some people's eyes, should have been in.
Yeah.
Right. Do you feel like that's a disadvantage? Looking in hindsight and looking at the trajectory of our relationship, do you think that's a disadvantage?
I don't know if disadvantage is the word that I would use. Maybe so.
In what way? So in what way?
Because there are some things, I think, if we were set up financially a little bit more stably in the beginning, that we would have been able to do. Okay. In that regard, maybe we were at a disadvantage.
Okay. I buy that.
Yeah. You don't think so?
Well, I don't know. I don't know if disadvantage is the word.
Yeah, that's the word. I don't know if I would use the word disadvantage, but I could see how having a little bit more of a more stable financial foundation would have helped in some situations.
Yeah, and I think there's some nuances. So here's why I'm not all the way 100% with the article, because there are some nuances, right, that you can't really predict, or you can't really garner enough data from. So for example, I give an example. If a couple does not have the amount of money that they, quote unquote, should have, and they also don't have the level of opportunity that some others have, because what she's saying essentially is that if you don't have the money, that's going to be basically your motivation to get wealthy.
Right. Yeah.
But what if you don't have the opportunity either? And what if you are in a situation where there is not enough jobs, or there isn't, whatever it is, financial implications, economic implications, whatever it is, I think there's some nuances to that. And I think that's why I'm not all the way there with that.
Yeah, that's
makes it. I think it all depends on how each person values money. Yeah. That's true.
Some, living in a camper van is all the stability they'd really care for.
And they're good.
So true.
Right. You're right.
So true. It's true.
You're right. What's up, Elizan? What's good?
Elizan. Hi, Elizan.
What's good? LB is in the house. Listen, if you're not following LB, you already know what it is.
Happy Sunday, LB. That's my girl.
If you whenever you hear me start a sentence with "if you're not following," you don't even have to listen to what the rest of it is. Just go follow the person. Just do it. You know what I'm saying? Just do that. Let's do that. That's people's right there. So so that's my thing, man, with the financial piece. And it's tough, right? Because there are also nuances that are attached to family of origin. So if
Absolutely.
one person is coming from money and the other person is not coming from money, that's going to be a nuance, because obviously the person coming from money is going to be taught, hey, have this in place, have these accounts open, have this, have these investments, have that. The other person's not going to have that.
Not necessarily. I could be coming from money, but I could have been spoiled or not taught how to manage money, even
Okay.
though my family
Okay.
has money. They might have just been giving me whatever I want, but not teaching
True.
me
But
how
not giving
to
you some systems.
manage it correctly. Yeah,
Yeah,
or
that's
give me
true.
systems.
So yeah, so that speaks to the level of nuance there. So,
Right.
but I don't know that I would counsel somebody
Hmm.
that you don't have to.
Yeah, I don't think I would either.
That's not a, at least you're not going to hear that from us.
Correct.
So if you're in a premarital situation with us, coaching situation, you're not going to hear me come out and be like, you don't have to be financially prepared.
Yeah.
Now, you don't have to be rich. That's a decision you're going to have to make. What you're going to get from us is that you need to have some guidance.
Hmm.
You need to have a game plan.
Yeah.
You need to put all your cards on the table,
Right.
so you know what you're walking into.
At least that.
Yeah, you got to know what you're walking
At the very
into.
least that. Have all your cards on the
Yeah,
table.
because God forbid you walk down the aisle and then 3 weeks after you come back from the honeymoon, dude is like, oh, I got this $35,000 bill over here. I got to do, all you got to know all that up front.
Yeah.
So that you can craft some kind of game plan. That's what you're going to get from us.
Right.
And then we're going to be like, in order to craft that game plan, we're not going to help you with that. We're going to send you to XYZ person
Correct.
who does that.
Who specializes
Right.
in that.
Who specializes in that. So I was kind of leery about that, but I get where she's coming from.
I get it too.
And I understand.
And hey,
that.
like she said, millennials, this
True.
Millennials tend to do that more, or tend to be better at not having to be financially I don't know. I don't get that, but
well, and see, that's iffy too, right? Because you got a whole other side of that coin. Millennials are also very career driven.
This is true.
So some of them just organically are going to wait
until
just
they're
because
stable.
Marriage is not in their purview.
Yeah, that's true.
Right? You know what I'm saying? So they like, I'm trying to get the bag.
You're right.
And I'm gonna continue to get as many bags as I can. We'll deal with the other stuff later.
Yeah.
So all right. So that's the media mixdown. For those of you who might be watching the replay, love to hear what you have to say in the comments. If you're brave enough to want to say what it was like for us, we didn't walk down the aisle with bags already.
No, we didn't. We had bags, but
yeah,
they weren't money bags.
Yeah, it wasn't money. Old different program. We walked down the aisle with bags, but they didn't have money in them. You're right. You're right about that. You're right about that. So if you want to share, those of you watching the replay, listen, go ahead and do so. So that was the money piece.
Mm-hmm.
So Elizanne said it is a different generation.
They
Indeed.
are definitely focused on growing wealth, right. Which I think is fantastic.
Yeah, you're right. You're right. You're right. They're focused on growing wealth, and there's nothing wrong with that.
Right, nothing at all.
There's nothing wrong with that. So listen, let's get out of that. That's the money piece.
Why are you stuttering?
Yeah, I was trying to figure out where I'm at right here. So listen, let us know what your comments are.
Mm-hmm.
Let us know what your thoughts are about the money piece. But let's go ahead and jump into the question of the week. Let's do that. So this question of the week is I don't know about. I thought about this, so let's see how the dialogue comes.
Well, let me read it.
Yep.
It's becoming increasingly apparent that my wife and I have two different value systems. How do we realign our values? Because I don't want our marriage to dissolve. So here is my first thought. Can I say?
Absolutely.
Put the question back up.
Mm-hmm.
It's becoming increasingly apparent that my wife and I have two different value systems. It's becoming increasingly apparent, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's the first part. And then the second part of the question, well, the question then just says, how do we realign our values? To me, that's two different things. To me,
Mm.
it's like
Okay.
this person thought that their values were aligned, but now it's becoming apparent that they are not. And then they say, how do we realign them? To me, I don't think they ever were aligned. That's what it sounds like to me. So I think
Interesting.
now you got to have a conversation on what each of your value systems are. And if you don't want the marriage to dissolve, what are you willing to let go of? Both of you. What are each of you willing to let go of? Right.
Hmm.
And then how are you, if you don't want the marriage to dissolve, you're going to have to figure out how you're going to mesh your two value systems together to maintain the marriage. You're going to have to figure out what it is you're okay with letting go of.
Okay, that's interesting perspective because when I read the question, I thought something different. I thought maybe they were on the same page about some things.
Okay.
One, and it's speculation, right? So
Right.
one person has progressed in their ideology, the other person has not,
Okay.
or
I
one
could see.
person has regressed or changed completely to something that
So they were, you're saying,
right. So
initially
they were
on the
initially
same.
aligned, but not aligned right now.
Which I can understand that happening because if you think about it, we always say this as you grow in your relationship and you
True.
journey on down your relationship,
Hmm.
things change. We evolve.
Yep.
We like things that we didn't like before. We believe things that we were like, you know what? I don't believe it. And then you reevaluate it and you're
Hmm.
like, you know what? Some of those things might be, I'm starting to believe those types of things. And so as we evolve, and we will,
Hmm.
your value systems might change. So I can understand how that would happen. But here is where, if that's what happened, I think what needs to happen in every relationship is you reevaluate. If you don't have a mission statement, you should get one for your relationship. You should do check-ins. How are we doing? Are we still moving towards the goals that we have? Have we met our goals? All those types of questions. You got to have check-ins. You can't just set up talk about your values in the beginning of your relationship
Hmm.
and then just leave it alone for the rest of your relationship.
So let me ask you this: is realignment even like let's be real? Is
Mhm.
realignment even possible?
I think so.
Okay.
I think so. I think if you're willing, again, if you're willing to be like, look, this is what we said in the beginning. This is what we talked about. Seems like some things have changed. I want this relationship to still work.
Hmm.
So how are we going to make it work?
Okay.
And then you got to come up with, how you're going to do that. You got to be willing. Again, you have to be willing to be flexible if you want your
So
relationship to work.
yeah, so that's the key. And I'm gonna talk about that in a second. You got to be willing to be flexible. Temp checks are mandatory, indeed.
Mandatory. Yeah.
They are. They are. They are. These values come from your separate families and upbringings.
Hi,
Is
Shirley.
this a new marriage? One must reassess and see what it looks like. Yeah, yeah.
With
What's up, Cheryl?
compromising and working together.
Um,
Yeah, for sure.
yeah, I agree. I agree with that. It does. And so here's the thing, right? You talked about oh, what did I just do? Oh, there's a question. Um, you got to be willing.
Hmm.
So that's the thing, right? So yesterday, for those of you watching the replay, we do a Saturday rap sessions. This
Hmm.
show's on Sunday. So yesterday we talked about the necessity to make a decision
Right.
before in any of this marriage stuff that you hear,
Hmm.
any of these tools that you're given, they are only as good as whether you decide you actually want to do it or not.
Yep.
So I believe the same thing in this realignment thing. How do we realign our values? First, you got to be on the same page about wanting to realign your values.
There it
If
is.
not, it's a wrap.
Yeah,
Let's just be
that's
clear.
true. Because one of you could be like, oh, how are we going to realign this? The other one was like,
And the
ain't
other
no
person, right?
realignment.
The other
I'm out.
person's like, I'm good. I
Because
like what I'm doing.
I'm good. I like what I'm doing. Or this is not what we said initially. So I'm out.
Yep. Marriage like life grows. So like education, you need to yeah, I agree.
Recertify
Recertify.
maybe.
Yeah. I agree with that.
Hmm.
And if you're not willing to adjust, yeah,
Then you lose.
indeed.
Yeah.
And really that's what really that's what it is, right? You have to be willing to do that.
Yeah.
Off topic, Denise, I love your hair.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, so that's the first thing. So my answer to this question would be, first of all, the first question is not how do you realign. The first question is, do y'all even want to realign?
Wow.
Because
Yeah.
if you don't want to realign, then there's no point in wasting time tackling the second question.
Wow. Yeah, I like it.
It just
That's true.
is pointless.
Mm-hmm.
So that's got to be the first question. You guys got to have a conversation. Hey, you know what? It feels like we're not on the same page about the trajectory of our relationship. We're not on the same page about where we want to see this thing go. And there's some questions that you can ask, and I don't have them up right now, but I had them up last week. There's some questions that you can ask. You spoke to the mission statement,
Yep.
right?
Yeah.
There's some questions that you can ask to begin to craft a mission statement that are conversation starters. And then when you have those conversation starters, you can determine, okay, hey, now we're on the same page about this,
Mm-hmm.
or we're not on the same page. And then you got to make a decision.
What are we going to do about
Do
that?
you want to be on the same page?
Yeah.
And if you do, then there's steps that can be taken.
Yeah.
If one person is like, listen, bro, or listen, sis, this is me. I'm good. I
Yeah.
like where I'm at. Then you got another decision to make.
Right. And then there's another decision.
Right.
Yep. Yep. Yep.
So that's really where I think I'm at with that. And I hate to sound matter of fact. I try not to come across like that, because I'm not trying to be that way for the sake of being that way, but it's imperative that we start looking at these topics in a very real way.
Yeah.
Not stringing people along,
Yeah.
and forcing people
Wasting time, man.
and well, just forcing people to make some really adult decisions.
Yeah.
Like, this is a serious scenario. Like, you forcing people, you got to force people to make some really serious decisions, and based on the decision that's made, then you can determine what is the strategy moving forward,
Mm-hmm.
based on the decisions that's made. So those of you who might be watching this, or who may come in late, please feel free to share your opinions in the comments. Those of you watching by replay, we would love to know what you would say to somebody if they asked you this. It's becoming increasingly apparent that my wife and I have two different value systems. How do we realign our values? Because I don't want our marriage to dissolve. Right? So going back to what you said, you felt like maybe they weren't aligned to begin with.
That's what it sounded like to me.
Right. Which speaks to your next point about having the importance of having a mission statement for your marriage. Right. If you think about it, and those of you who know me, you're going to be like, here he goes again, but I'm going to say it. We do this outside of our relationship in every other area. Your job has standard operating procedures. They have guiding principles. They make it very clear that we're bringing you in to a system that's already created. Here is the system. Here's where we're going. Here's how you align to it.
Yeah.
And when you sign the contract saying, yes, I agree to this offer letter, you're agreeing to align yourself, to submit to the guiding principles that were handed out to you.
Yep.
We don't do that. Why can't we do that? It's imperative that we're doing that in a relationship.
Yeah.
So if you start out that way, there's a great, I'm not saying it's foolproof, but there is a greater chance that you won't find out later along the road that you're misaligned. Because as in your career, that the first time you walk in the door is not the last time you're going to hear those guiding principles.
Correct.
You might have a mid-year evaluation, or you may have an end-of-year evaluation. And what they're going to do is they're going to look at your performance. Have you done what you said you would do that would be in alignment? And if you're out of alignment, what do we need to do?
Yeah.
And for some people, if they're too far out of alignment, that's their last evaluation with that company, because they're getting let go. I've seen it happen.
Yeah. I just thought of something, and I don't know how this would relate. In your analogy, I just thought about how if they don't get let go, they get put on probation.
They do.
And I don't know how that would work. Well, it could work. It could be that in a relationship as well. Like, babe, this is not what we agreed upon. I really feel strongly about this. I don't think that we should veer away from this goal or whatever. If after a certain amount of months I don't see a change, then I'm out. Would that be the probation, so to speak?
Well, it depends. I don't I that's a tough one because ultimatums sometimes cloud the um the strategy building process. Because there's some people who, as soon as you hit them with an ultimatum, they're like, you know what, forget it.
Right.
Whereas maybe if you had massaged it a little bit differently, they might have been like, oh, okay, let me hear what you got to say, kind of thing. From HR perspective, you agree to the culture, mission, vision, and core values, absolutely, of your employer. Or we place you on,
Performance.
you're absolutely right.
Yep.
You're absolutely right. And so to speak to what that might look like in a relationship, it may not necessarily be an ultimatum, but it will be, hey, listen, this is the direction we're trying to go. If this continues, we have to reassess where we're trying to go and whether that has changed or not. Or do we still want to be aligned?
Okay.
Because that's a very real thing, right? Listen, we're people of faith, so obviously, we are all about the till death do us part, right? But what we are not about is dysfunction.
Yeah.
We're not about dysfunction, right? So you're never going to hear not it come out of our mouths that till death do us part, that dysfunction trumps that.
Right.
Because it's like saying I'm going to keep this wayward employee in my company just because, I'm concerned about retention rates. That's ridiculous. So I'm not sure what this comment is.
That's just.
Oh, is that spam?
Yeah.
Okay. So that's the question. You gotta make some decisions early. You gotta put some systems in place early, and you gotta reevaluate as often as possible. Right. So we said in the beginning we were going to talk about, that's the question of the day. So we said in the beginning we were going to talk about couple goals today, and that's going to be an interesting conversation. That's going to be an interesting conversation, which we're going to have very shortly. But before we have that conversation, we are going to take a very short station identification break to put up a message from our sponsor, who, again, for this episode, is us. So after this little station identification break, we're going to come back and talk about couples goals. All right. So listen, we got on two of the t-shirts right now, the 2020 Before Hindsight t-shirt, which comes from right out of the book that I wrote entitled Overcoming the Man Laws. The whole thing behind this 2020 Before Hindsight is that it is my goal to help individuals achieve as much clarity as possible before they have to live in hindsight. There are some mistakes that I've made, and I'm living some of these things in hindsight. I don't want you to have to do that. And my wife has on the Hey Girlfriend shirt. What's the Hey Girlfriend shirt all about?
The Hey Girlfriend movement is just about us as girlfriends, as women, as sisters coming together and joining each other in encouragement. There's so much competition out here, and there's so much hateration out here. I just want us sisters, us women, to band together and be like, hey, girlfriend, you looking good. Hey, girlfriend, I saw your post. Hey, girlfriend, I see, what you're doing out there. I see you killing it in the business world, whatever. Just being supportive of each other instead of talking about each other, instead of gossiping, instead of all of the negativity. There's too much of that going on. Let's band together and be a community of uplifting, encouraging, supportive sisters. And so,
Absolutely.
hey, girlfriend.
Absolutely. And if you are so inclined to lend your support in that way, you can go to pressandso.com/Denali. There are some other shirts there as well that you can take a look at. Now, what I did not say before we get into this next topic is that I did not say if you have a question that you want us to talk about for the question of the week, send your questions to admin@denali.org.
Yeah.
And when you send the question, let us know whether you want your name attached to it or not. Whether you want us to say, hey, we got this question from Oliver, or if you just want us to put the question on the screen like you saw today.
Yeah.
Right? So admin@denali.org. No question is off limits. I don't care what it is. We will do our very best to give you our perspective on whatever those questions are for the question of the week. So we said we're going to talk about couples goals today, right? All right. Hey, girlfriend.
You beautiful both inside and out. Thank you, Shirley. Right back at you, my sister.
That's what's up. So couples goals. So let me give you some context for this couples goal short conversation we're going to have right now. I saw a post, which this could very well have been Media Mixdown as well, but it's based on a post I saw. Somebody put up a post saying, how come we don't view LeBron and his wife as couples goals? How come we don't ever hear them talking about couples goals? He hasn't been in the media about anything. You haven't heard any scandals. It was all this stuff that they were putting in the post, right? Listen, he got crucified, the guy who posted this, because people were like, oh, so couples goals means I got to have a child out of wedlock, and I got to be now married for 10 years before he popped. I mean, it was just crazy, right? So I said, you know what? Here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to do a social experiment. So those of you who follow us on Instagram or on Facebook, you probably saw the post where I said, hey, what would be your first reaction? Be honest. What would be your first reaction if you heard that Denise and I were getting a divorce? Knowing everything that we do inside the relationship, coaching chronicles, we're speaking and doing speaking engagements, and we're speaking to couples and doing all this stuff. And then you hear, now let's be clear. Let me back up for a second. I am by no means implying that we are couples goals for anybody.
Right.
So let's just put that out there.
Correct.
I'm not putting myself on a pedestal, but I'm curious. I was curious if after what you've seen us do and what you're used to seeing us do and what you're starting to know us for, if you heard we were getting a divorce, what would be your initial reaction?
I want to know what your initial reaction would be.
I'll be honest. If you asked me this question 10 years ago, I probably have some kind of negative reaction.
Like,
oh,
they were fake.
Yeah, something along those lines. Like, oh, well, it wasn't real, or what. I probably would have that kind of response. And I'll be honest, years and years ago, because I, again, probably wasn't even at the point where I understood what this whole thing was about. Right now, though, I'm being I'm a little bit more open-minded. What are you about to say?
Go ahead. I'll let you finish your thought.
I'm a little bit more open-minded because life happens to a lot of people, and you really can't, or you shouldn't. I'm not going to say you can't, because you can. You probably should not determine in a holistic way.
That's the word.
Somebody's life experience based on the particular season they're in. And that's tough, because as human beings, that's hard for us to do.
Yeah. I think I agree with you on I think what your reaction would have been 10 years ago might have been mine or similar 10 years ago. But going through everything that we have gone through, particularly in the last 5 to 10 years, we've gone through some stuff that would have split other people up.
That's very true. That's very true.
So I think for me now, knowing that, I would be like, well, we don't know what goes on behind closed doors.
Yeah, you're right.
And on top of that, I would say that it doesn't negate what they were teaching, I guess.
And right. And so that's kind of where I was going with us, right?
Okay.
So LB said I would be saddened by the news and know that this happens to the best of us. Yeah.
No one gets married to get divorced.
You're
Absolutely.
Right. You're right. But it's interesting how viciously people are crucified. So let me back up. Can I say this without getting crucified?
Oh, brother. Y'all don't pray for me enough. I know it.
And it's not bad. Don't put anybody, don't put any couple in a position where you will be crushed.
Wow.
If they dissolve.
Wow. Yep.
The minute you put up anybody, right? If you're a Bible person, it says do not put any other gods above me or something like that, right? The minute you put somebody in that position, you setting yourself up for failure.
Wow. Because it's like, well, what do I do now?
Right.
I'm lost now.
So you have, like, for example, they had people who were talking about Will and Jada. Oh, well, I saw a comment that was like, oh, well, there's no hope for marriage. What? No, you can't put anybody at that level. Yeah. That's the first thing. Like, let's be clear about that. Now, you can see people and be like, man, I love what they have, because you're evaluating what you see in the moment. I love what they have. Man, I feel like that would be something that we could possibly work for us. Right? No, not even that.
It's just very delicate for me. To me, I think it's very delicate to even say that, because I think if you're inspired, that's one thing.
Okay. I like that word. Inspired.
If you're inspired to be like, I love what they have, what can I do that would make me feel?
Yeah.
What can I do for myself, uniquely for me, or uniquely for our relationship? What can we do that can help me feel like what they have? Does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes sense. That makes sense.
To be inspired is one thing. To want what someone else has and to be like someone else is totally different.
And that's kind of where I was going. Just be inspirational, right?
Yeah.
So if you think about anybody who hears me, I'm trying to do the podcast circuit now. So shameless plug. If you know anybody who is looking for, excuse me, somebody to speak on men's topics.
Drink your water, man. What's going on?
I have no idea what's going on. Somebody who wants to speak on men's topics, send me the information. I'm doing this podcast circuit. But so I lost my train of thought of what I was going to say. But basically what I was trying to say is that you can't put yourself in that position. And I talk about Anthony Kelly all the time, right? Dr. Kelly. I looked at his relationship with Marva.
Yeah.
And I was like, there's something special about that. And there's something in there that I know I'm going to need to emulate in order to achieve what appears to be happiness. Right? You can do that for other folks, but when you put them up there, like if Pastor Kelly and Marva were to get divorced before he passed, if I put them up there like that is the standard and they are the God of marriage, then me and you wouldn't be married right now. Because if they had gotten a divorce and I had put them in that position, then I'm like, oh, well, this definitely ain't gonna work. If that didn't work and I thought that was the greatest, this definitely ain't gonna work. So that's a setup. That, you know what I'm saying? That's a setup. Let's get some of these comments.
Honestly, I would be highly disappointed, but would pray for you guys. Also, never idolize or envy anyone's relationship.
Never. And I saw LB, we put up LB's comment a little while ago. I would be crushed if me and mine didn't make it. Facts.
That's it. 100%.
Facts.
Yeah.
Inspire you to create. Yep. Yep.
Inspire you to create something beautiful for your marriage. Be your
Exactly.
own
Be your own. There
relationship
it is.
goals.
That's the
Period.
mic drop moment right there. Be your own
Period.
goals. Right.
Mm-hmm.
Think about all the women who were disappointed. Yeah, exactly. That's another
Mm-hmm.
couple by Devon Franklin and Megan Good.
Yeah.
Now, here's the question, which is why I wanted to bring this up. Does it negate, and I'm glad you brought that particular couple up, does it negate everything that he wrote in that book?
I don't think it does. I don't think it negates everything that he wrote in the book, because that's funny you would say that, because I saw a picture of her today and I was like, well, wow, look at her. She looks great. But anyway, I don't think it negates everything that they wrote, because it's still truth. It may not have worked for them,
Mm-hmm.
but what they wrote is still truth. What they wrote still can help you,
Yeah.
can still inspire you, can
Mhm.
still make you think.
And I agree with that, but there are a lot of people
I know.
who don't agree with that. All
Yeah.
marriages are like a fingerprint. Christ, communication, and compromise, some of the key elements.
Mm-hmm.
Indeed. A lot
Yeah.
of people don't think that, right? So
Right.
I'll read a comment, and I had people be honest, and I was okay with them being honest, right? So somebody first, as it relates to us, somebody said, my first thought would be your advice must not be that valid
Mm.
if you couldn't fix your own problems.
I get that. I understand how someone would say that. I'm not saying I agree with it, but I understand how someone would have that view. I
Okay.
understand it.
Okay.
I understand that.
Listen, here's the crux of the matter. And let me get this comment. Truthfully, if you guys got a divorce, although you both are marriage coaches, you are still human beings.
Mm-hmm.
Indeed. Indeed. And here's the thing. We're not perfect.
That's right.
So, until you become perfect, there is a slight chance you're going to do something stupid.
And like I said, the past 5 to 10 years for us, we were in some, not because either one of us did something stupid, but there was still some stuff going on
And that's the next thing,
in
right?
our relationship that was really, really, really heavy for us.
Some wedge worthy stuff was happening.
And that stuff I know for a fact has split other people
Right.
up.
Right.
And so that has, what it was has nothing to do with what we present, what we teach, and how we inspire. It had nothing to do with that.
Yeah.
And yet, and still, if someone, it happening to someone else has split them up. So I could see how,
Yeah, man.
you know,
I can see it. And it really makes you, if you really want to get something out of it, what it should do is it should not cause you to pick apart the individuals
yeah.
or their relationship. What it
Mm.
should cause you to do is to turn inward
There it is.
and be like, yo, if that could happen to them, I need to step my game up.
Let me check myself. Yep.
And I need to go and be like, babe, what do you need from me? Because I don't want that to happen.
Mm-hmm.
What do you need? Where are the gaps?
Yeah.
Where do I need to fill in the blanks?
Yeah.
What do I need to do so that this doesn't happen? That's what's supposed to happen. One, you should not be putting anybody on a pedestal to that degree that you feel like
you're doomed.
Right. Like the state of marriage is in jeopardy. Like
wow.
that's absolutely ridiculous.
Yeah.
And then what it should do, number two, is make you turn inward.
Yeah.
Because if you don't want that to happen, and you know you're not perfect either, that means you got to put in some extra effort and some commitment, right? So that's what has to happen. Facts. You can get the best advice, I think.
Yeah.
But both parties have to put in the work. Absolutely.
Yep.
Absolutely. So listen, tell us your feedback. Those of you watching this on the replay. That's our little, middle spiel there that we want to talk about as it relates to couples goals. What?
That's a good point that JoJo said.
Oh, I missed it. Let's throw it up.
Think about all of the pastors, ministers, bishops that get divorced and remarried. Do we cancel all the valuable sermons that they've preached?
Exactly.
No, we don't.
You can't. You can't.
We don't.
You can't.
Yeah.
It should not be your measuring stick
Yeah.
for the success or failure of an entity.
Yeah.
What it should do is cause you to be introspective.
Mm-hmm.
That's what it should do. All right.
Mm-hmm.
So that's where we at, family. Listen, before we wrap this thing up, here's some things we want to quickly let you know before we get into the last word. If you are not connected with us on YouTube, we strongly recommend we no not let's not strongly recommend, let's just humbly ask
Yes.
that you
Yes.
that you
Thank you for cleaning that up.
that you join us, our YouTube community at youtube.com/Denali LLC. We are working to increase that community this year, so we want you to be a part of that. So
And
listen,
we also want you to share this video
thank you.
with 5 people.
Please
Just
do.
5 people.
Please do.
Whether they're married or whether they're not. If they're not married, hopefully they'll get some valuable tips and information. And if they are married, hopefully they'll get some valuable tips and information. Share it with 5 people.
Please do. Please do share. If you're watching right now, whether live or in the replay, just hit the share button. Takes 2 seconds.
Right.
Share it on your timeline. We would love for you to do that for us. So before we get out of here, let's jump into the all right. It's the last word.
One?
I got a last word. The last word is simply this. We talked about the couples goals things, and we talked about the whole thing about being introspective as a result, right?
Mm-hmm.
When that introspection happens, and prayerfully, that's the method that you take.
Yeah.
When you see these kinds of things happening around you.
Yeah.
Right? When that introspection happens, that is a great opportunity for you and your significant other to have a conversation.
Right.
There are some things that just you cannot. Matter of fact, I suggest you don't leave anything to chance.
That's right.
Craft strategy around everything.
Mm-hmm.
Babe, you know what? I know this isn't happening in our life right now, but let's say, for example, this, and this were to happen. What's our approach? How do you want me to go about it? What do you think we should do as a team?
Yeah.
Start having those conversations, because what they do is help you create the bond that hopefully will be strong enough to sustain some of the things that would cause you to be like those other couples.
Mm-hmm.
That create that foundation for you to build on. So have a conversation. Talk to your significant other about everything. Come up with a strategy. Ask a very simple question. What do you need from me?
Yeah, that's good.
What do you want from me? And then sit there and listen.
Mm-hmm.
And come up with strategy on how you can be effective and beneficial in that. So let's jump with a couple of these comments, and then we're gonna get out of here. I love that it should have us look inward. Absolutely.
Right.
If we see strong marriages struggle, then it should put the desire to work harder.
That's
Absolutely.
it. Period.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
David said, I listened on LinkedIn. Enjoy your show. Thank you. Appreciate that.
Awesome. Thank you.
Appreciate that, bro. Appreciate it. So listen, that is another Saturday. No, man.
Nope.
What day is this?
Sunday, babe.
Wow.
That's another inside the relationship, people.
That's another inside the relationship. Listen, we love that you hanging out with us. If you have not seen the other episodes, go back and watch the other episodes. Also, when you subscribe to the YouTube channel, you will see other things there.
Right.
You will see Coaching Chronicles. You will see Short Tips for a Long Marriage. You will see all of these other series. Hey Girlfriend series. You will see the pop-up series. There are so many other. There are about 240 videos, I believe, at this point.
Yeah.
That you have for your viewing pleasure. So please, we urge you, be a part of this community. We need you to be a part of this community. We love you guys. And listen, let me leave you with this. 2 things before we get out of here. First thing is, be intentional about creating an experience that will help you to grow intimacy.
Mm-hmm.
The second thing is, until your 1 + 1 = 1, you're not done.
You're not done.
We love you, family. We see you next week with another inside the
the
relationship.
relationship. Bye, guys.
Peace, folks.